Hello, year fours. How are you doing? Are you well? You are? I'm so glad to hear it. Mr. Morrissey here with another problem of the week. Now, in this lesson, we're going to take a little step on from what we looked at last week. Can you remember what that was? What did we look at last time round? It was comparing decimals. That's right. In this lesson, we're going to be ordering decimals. So writing a list of decimals in order from lowest to highest or highest to lowest. Now, if you think for a little bit, I'm sure you'll realize that ordering decimals and comparing decimals are pretty much the same thing. If you can compare decimals, then you can order them. Now, last week we looked at a strategy for comparing decimals and deciding which one was greater or which one was smaller. Can you remember what that was? Because that's really going to help you today. It really is the same process. Well, let's have a quick recap then of what we looked at last week. Let's have a look at this to begin with. You can see two place value charts with the counters representing two numbers, and we're going to compare them, decide which is greater, which is smaller. We had these facts to help us make sense of it all last week. Let's go through these quickly. So 1 is equal to how many tenths? Well, it's 10 tenths. Of course, 10 tenths is 1 whole. That's all the tenths, isn't that right? 1 tenth is equal to how many hundredths? It's 10 hundredths. And 1 is equal to how many hundredths? Well, it's 100. So again, 100 hundredths is 1 whole. And of course, we know in our base 10 decimal number system, it's all about counting in groups of 10. So 1 is equal to 10 tenths. And 1 tenth is equal to 10 100ths, and so on. So let's think about what numbers we have here. We have 4 ones, 2 tenths, and 400. So 4.24. And we're comparing that with 4 ones, 1 tenth, and 2 hundredths. 4.12. Now, what was our strategy? Which of the digits is worth the most? Ones, tenths, or hundreds? Well, of course it's ones. 1 cake is much more than 1/10 of a cake and way more than 1/100th of a cake. So we compare the ones first, and we notice here they're the same. Now, if one was bigger than the other, we'd know that's the biggest number, and we wouldn't have to look at the tenths or the hundredths. But they're the same, so then we look at the next biggest value digits. That's the tenths. And in the first number, we've got 2 tenths compared to 1 tenth. 2 is greater than 1, so we know that's the bigger number. And we don't need to look at the hundredths. So we can say that 4.24 is greater than 4.12. Does that all make sense? Great. Well, now we're going to be ordering. And ordering is just comparing. You could think of it as comparing more things, I suppose. 2 keywords, ascending or descending order. Any idea what they might mean? Ascending means going up, and descending means going down. To descend the stairs means to go down the stairs. So if we're ordering the decimals in ascending order, we're going from lowest to highest in value, and then descending must be going from highest value to smallest value. Okay, so we've got 4 numbers here in 4 place value charts. Of course, if you want to do this on your own, by all means, pause the video and do so. I'm going to go through it. I'll start by writing the numbers, of course. So this is 3.01. The 0 is very important as a placeholder. And this is 2.32. Then we've got that's 6. And that's 7. 1.67. And here we have 2.23. Okay. So again, which digit will you compare first? The highest in value, the one that's worth the most. So we're going to compare the ones. Okay, well, let's do ascending order first. Ascending order. So what's going to be the smallest number here? We've got 3 ones here, 2 ones here, 1 here, and 2 ones here. Well, there's a clear loser, if you like, when it comes to the lowest value. 1 is smaller than all the rest, that has to be the smallest value. No question about it. So that's going to be the first one. And we don't need to worry about that anymore. Now we're looking for the second smallest. Well, we saw that this is 3 ones. We know straight away actually that that's got to be the biggest. Isn't that right? 3 ones is more than 2 ones, which we see in the other 2 numbers. The other digits don't matter. If you think about it, this is 3 and a bit, isn't it? And the others are only 2 and a bit. 3 and a bit is bigger than 2 and a bit. If somebody is 3 and a bit years old, they're older than somebody that's 2 and a bit years old. Isn't that right? Okay, so we can say that 3.01 is the biggest. So now we're going to compare these two. The ones we know are the same. So then we look at the tenths. What do we see? 3 tenths here compared to 2 tenths. So which is the smaller value? 2 tenths is smaller than 3 tenths. So 2.23 is smaller than 2.32. And that's the second smallest. That goes here. 2.23. Now we're going for the third smallest. Well, we already know. It's the other one with 2 ones, isn't it? It has to be 2.32. And we know which is the biggest. We know it's 3.01. So there we've got them in order. Now we're going to put the decimals in descending order. So from biggest to smallest. But really, we've already done it, haven't we? If you know the order from smallest to biggest, you know the order from biggest to smallest. So what's the biggest of all? It's 3.01. Next is 2.32. Next is 2.23. And finally we have 1.67. So there we go. I hope that makes sense. There are some common errors that people fall into if you follow the correct strategy by thinking about which digits are worth the most and just comparing those, then you're less likely to make those mistakes. So a common mistake here, what might a common mistake be, do you think? Somebody might see in this number we've got 6 tenths and 7 hundredths. Look at all those tenths and hundredths, way more than all the others. Look, no tenths at all there, only one measly little hundredth there. So you might think that 1.67 is somehow bigger than 3.01. But because the ones are greater in this number, it's a bigger number overall. So now it's over to you, and I've got some questions for you to do in your own time. So number 1, you can see again, it's 4 place value charts. So write the decimals and then place them in ascending order. So it's really important here you're reading the question carefully. Is it ascending or descending order? You don't want to do all the hard work, do brilliant comparing and ordering of fractions, except you got it the wrong way around. You did descending instead of ascending, or vice versa. Number 2, you're going to place those numbers in descending order. Now, number 2, there's no place value chart or images to help you. You can, of course, always do that by yourself. Do your own place value charts and put in the counters and then use that to help you compare them. If you don't feel you need that, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you're using a good strategy. Number 3, it's fill in the blanks. So for the first 3, you're looking for, is it a greater than, less than, or maybe an equals to symbol? And in the second 3 here, you've got the symbols, but you're missing a digit. So what digit could go here and what digit could go here? But obviously it has to be correct. So this is smaller than this number, which is smaller than this number. There are a number of possible answers there. Maybe you could see if you can find a few possible correct answers. And then, as always, some more challenging problems to hopefully get you thinking a little bit more deeply and using your reasoning, problem solving, explaining, justifying skills. Very important in maths. So first of all, spot the mistake. Have a look at what Tallulah is done. Can you explain her mistake? And secondly, there's a table there. That's children planting sunflowers. And you can see the heights of the sunflowers. You've got to order the children based on the heights in both ascending and descending order. look very, very carefully. There's quite a few decimals to compare for a start, and there's a few little differences in there, so don't get caught out. Next, I'm going to go through all of the answers. So if you're not quite ready, you know what to do. Block your ears, put on a blindfold, hide under the sofa, or maybe just pause the video. Here we go. So they are my answers. Number 1, ascending, going from smallest to biggest. I hope you agree with my answers. And I hope you weren't caught out by the fact that there's a different number of decimal places here. Doesn't matter if you want to put in the same number of decimal places to help you compare, you could always put a 0 there. You know that doesn't change the value because we're just adding on 0 hundredths. That's absolutely nothing, makes no difference. You might find it's easier to compare decimals when you have the same number of digits each time. Maybe you ignore the decimals. You think of 13 and 132 and 140 and then 204, then put the decimal points back in. You can do that, but it only works if you've got the same number of decimal places. Okay, number 2, it was descending order. So I hope you weren't caught out by these. Same digits, but you got 2 tenths there and no tenths here. So this is going to be bigger. 4.62 is going to be the bigger number. And then fill in the blanks here. And as I said before, with the second 3 here, there's a number of other possible answers. So you probably got something different to me, but hopefully yours are correct. And you can also see why mine are correct. Okay, well done with those. And then the problemos. For the second one, hope you weren't caught out by Faye. See that they're being quite sneaky, putting in some centimeters there, whereas all the others are meters. So maybe you convert it to meters. That would be what as meters? 0.99, isn't that right? And that might have made it easier then to compare. I hope you got on well with those. Well done for your hard work, your perseverance and your mathematical thinking, all very important skills in maths. Now, if you wanted to do your own investigation around ordering decimals, then maybe you could come up with something similar to that sunflower problem, couldn't you? So what could you measure in your house that would involve decimals, and then you can order in ascending and descending order, maybe the height of your family members in meters? That might be a good one. Or there might be other things that you can measure as well. Well, if you do that, I hope you have fun with it. That is the end of this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again next week for another problem of the week. In the meantime, look after yourself. Stay safe. Bye.